I'd like to welcome you to the Doni Glover Show. We have with us managing partner, co-founder, MCB, one and only P. David Bramble. Hello, sir. How are you?
How are you?
Doni Glover Show, BMoreNews.
I'd like to welcome you back to the Doni Glover Show. So, Mr. Bramble, I have to ask you, did you, as a child, have any thoughts about the Inner Harbor?
I mean, as a child, my thoughts about the Inner Harbor was I loved to go whenever I could. And then as I was getting, and it was the place, and I'm sure people have heard me say this before, I remember if anybody came into town, any family members or friends or whatever, we always went down to Phillips Seafood. And it was like a big event. That was our thing. And then we would go down there with friends and family to hang out and go to the different stores and all that kind of stuff. And then, of course, as I got into high school, everybody remembers the fudgery. We'd go down there and hear the guys sing and have all kinds of fun. Yeah, I have super fond memories of Harborplace.
Would you like to see those again?
Oh, absolutely, and we will see those again. Now, it won't be the exact same memories. It's going to be a different place. But it is going to be, we think, reimagined into the new beating heart of Baltimore. We're super excited about the plans and other things that we've been working on. As you know, we embarked on a major community engagement process. You were at some of those meetings where we really try to get ideas and understand how we could make this a place that people would love and want to be a part of. So we think that our plans that the voters approved overwhelmingly, we think they reflect that. And now the hard part, the next hard part, which is getting through the planning and permitting process with the city and then financing it and building it.
Can you tell us where you got the idea? I mean, were you like at an O's game and thought, I guess I'll develop the harbor?
No. No, actually, as I've said to many people, we need this deal like we need a hole in our heads. It really fell to us because no one else was willing to embark on it. I mean, the thing had been sitting there dilapidated for years, and it was continuing to decline. And we actually own in a joint venture with another group, the parking lot across the street, that vacant lot where the old News American building used to be. And we realized we were getting no traction on developing or redeveloping that deal that didn't involve someone saying, okay, if you want me to lease here, what are your plans for across the street? Which you say, well, we're not involved in that. And then as we peel back the onion, we realized no one was involved in it. And so we, said, well, if no one's going to do it, and considering how important that land is to the city of Baltimore, we said, well, somebody's got to do it. And it's got to be somebody who knows how to do complicated projects, who can raise the necessary capital, and then who can galvanize the communities and the government around a project. And so we said, if nobody else is going to do it, it's got to be us. And that's how we started on that very, very, very long and painful journey.
At Fulton Bank, we're personally invested in every community we serve. So sometimes we're big in small ways, like finding a way to get Crystal and Dan a mortgage before the baby arrived. Other times, we're small in big ways, like local decision-making and financial coaching that helped Fernando open his own shop. Fulton Bank, a community bank that's big and small in all the right ways.
So here's probably the ugliest question I have to ask. Baltimore is the home to segregation, going back to 1910 when Baltimore Mayor J. Barry Mahul introduced the first ordinance saying blacks couldn't move into white neighborhoods, whites couldn't move into black neighborhoods. And you didn't have to know that ordinance to know that Baltimore has its segregated communities. Did you foresee the pushback?
I would tell you that I expected pushback. And there's always pushback on large-scale projects. There's pushback on small projects. I think we have a general issue in this entire country. It's not just a Baltimore thing, but it's a national thing, where people have an automatic negative reaction to change. If you are trying to change somebody's neighborhood by building an apartment building or adding a shopping center, there's always a fight. And it's actually one of the most unfortunate things that we have going on in this country. And I hope, and I'm already seeing the green shoots of this. If you look at what's happening in Manhattan, there's a YIMBY movement, yes in my backyard. And New York City has rebranded itself as the city of yes, because they realize if you want growth, if you want affordable housing, if you want good shopping, you need to grow. You need to allow people to build things and cut through red tape to make that happen. And so I think we expected pushback, but I didn't expect some of the vitriol that we got, right? I expected some people to not be happy, because there's always somebody who's not happy. But I was shocked at some of the things that I read and that I heard. So much of it just wasn't true. The things that people were saying, that we were going to build buildings on Federal Hill Park and take away the promenade, all this just stuff that just wasn't even remotely true, but that became part of the narrative. And some of the things I heard said about myself and my colleagues were quite frankly shocking. But, in the end, and this is, I think, a huge testament to the city of Baltimore, we got 60+% of the vote. We got more votes this time around than when Schaefer tried to do Harborplace the first time. We had a bigger percentage of the population. So I think I think it's just, we showed that we had overwhelming support for the project. And I think over time, this is the other thing I found, we've been fought on many projects. You will be surprised. Those same people that fought you will be the same people there shopping at the market or having dinner at the restaurant or living in one of the apartments, because they realize over time, a lot of times, well, maybe the things I was so worried about, the boogeyman, are not real. So I think that I'm glad that part is over. But
Did you need therapy afterwards? No, seriously, I have multiple therapists. I mean, because it was almost like you were running for office. It
was crazy. I will tell you, I am not an attention-seeking person. So, I've been doing, it's so funny. We've been here in Baltimore for almost 20 years, right? I've lived here my whole life, but this investment firm, we have billions of dollars of real estate. We've built millions and millions of square feet of stuff. We own and operate today 17 million square feet. For people who don't understand, like your house might be 2,000 feet. So put that in perspective. And have you ever heard my name? Well, you know me, but most people never heard of me before. I've been perfectly happy to operate. And it was a big decision to do this. But my partner Peter and I, and Peter's also from Baltimore, we just realized that no one else was going to do it. And we're okay taking the arrows and bows and rocks and sticks because it was so important. And I remember, there were times that I'd say, what am I doing? And then I would hear from people. They would be like, thank you for doing this. We really appreciate it. And that would keep me going. I'll be honestly, that would keep me going. This is so important for the city of Baltimore. And you and I talked about this previously. The city of Baltimore, downtown Baltimore, the central business district is facing an existential threat. And it's not just Baltimore, it's cities all over the place. But you know what we have? We've got beautiful waterfront, right? We've got all these great institutions. We have all this stuff that other cities would kill for. And so now it's time for us to make those investments and turn downtown around. And I think we will certainly benefit from it, and so will everybody else. So very excited about it. Would I want to go through that pain again? Absolutely not. But was it worth it? Yes, it was.
Is the gallery a part of the project?
It is not. We do not own the gallery. That's owned, at one point they were owned both by Rouse, who built, but that is now owned by a separate owner. We don't control that.
And you're right, for 20 years, it seemed longer. I used to one of my first busboy jobs was at Phillips. You had to carry a tray in each hand.
Yeah.
But that, it just died. And do you think Baltimore is anti-business?
Well, I wouldn't say
historically.
Well, yeah, I would say it like this. I think that a lot of places, particularly in the Mid-Atlantic and Northeast, as the cities got older, they just kept adding regulation, and that sort of started to gobble on itself. And then you had basically people leaving and going to the suburbs, and the city shrinking, and the response is, how do we make things harder? I think now there is a renaissance going on where people realize, where the government officials realize this, business, everyone's sort of coming together, starting to realize if we want to grow, we have to figure out how to cut red tape, and we have to figure out how to culture of growth. That means inviting business in, that means supporting business, and that will benefit everybody. And I think when you think about it too, and this is important, when I say business, I just don't mean trying to get AT&T to do something. We want that too. We want big business, we want medium-sized business, and we want small businesses. Like, how do we support those small businesses that are employing most of the people, honestly, but then also have the opportunity to become those homegrown, medium-sized, and large-sized businesses. So I think that I think there is a renaissance. I think we are finally realizing that we need to turn those things on and cut red tape. I'm not going to tell you it's easy, because it's not. I mean, it's hard to get stuff done, really any place, not just Baltimore City, Baltimore County. It's just hard. It's difficult. A lot of regulation, a lot of stuff. But I think there is a sort of a movement at the top in the political class to turn on the opportunity for business, because they know business invests, then capital's created, then taxes are paid, and now all those wonderful plans that you have to do, you can actually do them. But if you're going in the other direction, forcing businesses out, making it harder to create economic growth, then what happens? You know, there's lots of people who can vote with their feet. They can go wherever they want. And so how do we make it an enjoyable, safe, attractive environment to live, to have your business, to raise your kids? Those are all things I think we need to focus on, and I'm feeling good that the political class in Baltimore City and the county and the state of Maryland, all surrounding, they really recognize that and are turning the corner to be more business friendly.
At Fulton Bank, we're personally invested in every community we serve. So sometimes we're big in small ways, like finding a way to get Crystal and Dan a mortgage before the baby arrived. Other times we're small in big ways, like local decision-making and financial coaching that helped Fernando open his own shop. Fulton Bank, a community bank that's big and small in all the right ways.
I was very fortunate and blessed to be able to purchase a house, and then in the meantime walk into quite a bit of equity. Thank you so much, Calvin. You've been a blessing. I really, really have appreciated everything that you have done to, help me along on this journey, because I just believe that God orders our steps, and I'm just grateful that He brought you into our lives. That's it.
I'd like to welcome you back to the Doni Glover Show. We are blessed to have the greatest interview of the year right here. He's being modest. He's a modest guy. We have to acknowledge Baltimore Mayor Brandon Scott.
The harbor had been deteriorating on itself since I was in middle school. That's just the truth, right? It had been outdated that long. It's been sitting there deteriorating, and I heard as a young person, I heard as a young staffer in City Hall that we have to do something with Harborplace. We have to do something with Harborplace. And then we let some folks who don't even live in the country own it, and they ran it in the ground and ran cross trees in the ground at the same time, right? But one of the things, there were two quote unquote shopping centers that were important to me when I first came into office that I wanted to nudge into other hands. One was the Emerson Village Shopping Center, right? The other was Harborplace. And we did it, but for Harborplace, we knew that the legal route was the only route that we had. So then City Solicitor Shea, under my direction, pushed for the receivership, right? And only one group raised their hands and said they wanted to tackle it, and that was MCB. So we hear a lot of folks now saying, well, they were never asked, or this or that, or we did it in they say we did it as a backroom deal. The last time I checked, the court of law is very, very front room dealish, not back room. And they presented a plan. And I think their plan really captures all the need that we have, right? One, downtowns post-COVID are changing and are never going to be the same anywhere in the world. And we have to realize that. Second thing, malls and shopping centers died 20 years ago. They're never coming back. Nobody goes to the mall. Teenagers don't go to the mall. Teenagers can't go to the mall by themselves. That's a whole different story. Which is probably helping malls die faster, but maybe they don't understand that. But we know that downtown is our fastest growing residential neighborhood. And we know that there's a benefit to having people live downtown. We also know that there will be some need for office space and retail, but it's not going to be in the way that we all listen. I love going down to the harbor and watching people sing at the fudgery and all of the things that we have, but that's just never going to be the same. We have to modernize what we're thinking here. And to their credit, I think growing up here in Baltimore and remembering the days where literally I would catch the subway at Cold Spring Lane and go downtown and get off at Charleston and be met by a police officer to say, "We are going."
I mean, who would have thunk that on his watch so many wonderful things would happen? A black man from the community, and you're so much more than that. But this is America. That's how we get labeled. Any thoughts on Mayor Scott?
I mean, the Scott administration has been incredibly supportive of what we've been trying to do, not just at Harborplace, but as you know, MCB's invested around the city. And without the support of the Scott administration, there is no way we would be doing as many deals. I mean, and the mayor would tell you, I don't just want to see investment downtown, I want to see investments around the city. And he's supportive of all those things. And it's kind of amazing. And to see what's happened with crime and to see just the whole attitude of the city just changing, it is really amazing. I mean, the city is now, as I said, becoming more business friendly. It's focused on economic development. I don't know if you've seen what the mayor has planned around the permits. He's pushing to cut red tape and change the permit process to make things more efficient, which helps everybody, right? The faster the permits happen, the faster my businesses are open, the faster they're paying taxes, the faster I'm paying fees, getting through all those things. And what's more than that, it's sort of a general intentionality towards growth. Instead of fighting change, is supporting the right change, and then it's a push, which I can appreciate given the fact that I'm from West Baltimore, of not just investing in downtown, of investing across the entire city. And it's pretty exciting. If you drive around the city, you will see it pockmarked with projects, and you can see growth. I mean, not everywhere, can't do everything all at once, but in major parts around the city, you'll see development.
Do you remember, this is a sidebar, do you remember the boxing gym at North in Utah?
Oh yeah.
You do?
Of course.
Utah Gardens Operation Champ?
I don't know what it was, but I totally know what you're talking about, yeah.
Yeah, so, some early memories, but right around the corner from your home, North and Park, North and Linden, that was Murder Mall.
Oh, yeah.
That was Murder Mall, David.
I know, it's kind of crazy when I think about it. So obviously this project, when I was a kid, I don't know if you remember this, but the Baltimore Times first office, after Mom left, they used to do it on the kitchen table. When they were done with the kitchen table, they moved to behind. That was Stop Shop and Save. That was on the first floor there.
Yeah.
It was a Stop Shop and Save, and Mr. Baines had office space behind there, and leased my mom some office space. And
Get out of here.
No, that's where I used to go after school. So that place was rough.
So you were heavily influenced by preachers because
He was a preacher. That's right. Well, I mean, you probably call it Baines Supermarket if you've been around long enough, but it was eventually the chain was Stop Shop and Save, and there was some office space back there. My mom's office was in there. So I used to go there after school, and that place was rough. Because remember, there was the Madison Park on the south side, which was on the southeast corner of northern Utah, which was eventually redone by Wendy Blair and redone into townhomes, and that went really well. And then on the north side of the street, this sat forever. Like literally, I mean, just sat there, and it atrophied. And it took multiple mayors. I mean, Mayor Rollins Blake started it out by starting to fight with them, and then it just kept on going. And then eventually, we were able, with the help of the state, to tear that project down. After they figured out how to relocate all the folks, we tore it down, and it has been a labor of love. It has taken over a decade to get from when I first got involved with the project to where we are now, which is the murder mall is gone. Now we are delivering townhomes. Ryan Homes, we basically delivered land, and Ryan Homes is building and selling townhomes on North Avenue. And we're building a new office for the Mayor's Office of Employment Development, which is unbelievable and amazing, right? So we're putting a workforce, a brand new, beautiful workforce hub. We're doing the townhomes, and then we recently announced that we're adding a grocery store.
Yes.
The coolest thing about the grocery store piece is, I want to touch on two things. The coolest part about the grocery store piece is, when we went to demolish it for the groundbreaking, I guess a few weeks ago, maybe a month ago now, Congressman Mfume was there for the groundbreaking, and you know what he said? He actually worked in that daycare center when he was an undergrad at Morgan. I was like, wow. And then you want another piece? My dad.
The daycare center in between Mount Royal and Park?
The one on, yeah, exactly.
I
that
went
one.
there.
Yeah, did you?
I was in the first graduating class. My mom's union built it.
Well,
the clothing workers union.
Now check this out. So you went there.
Yeah.
Congressman Mfume worked there, and then my dad actually redeveloped it for the church and turned it back into a daycare center. That, I don't know, this must have been in the late 80s, early 90s. So touching it all those ways, and then it's sitting vacant, becomes like a drug den and all these other things. And now it's literally, if you go drive by there today, it's mostly torn down, and it's going to be a brand new grocery store. And which is super exciting for me, because I live just 2 or 3 blocks.
And we need a supermarket.
We need a supermarket, and so super excited about that. The other thing I want to talk about briefly is the Mayor's Office of Employment Development. That deal was financed in a very unique way that effectively allowed us to use the lease payments from the city that we're not getting. It's owned by a nonprofit, effectively. That the city contributed roughly $16 million of equity to the project, and then they were able to use lease payments to borrow very cheaply from the bond market. It is a home run on so many levels. It's going to be a beautiful building. It's helping economic development, and it is a fantastic deal for the city of Baltimore. A financing tool that other cities have been using, and we're really excited that we brought that to Baltimore. Super complicated, super complex deal involving bonds, and couldn't have been done without the support of Medco and the state and all these other folks who came together to get the deal done. So that's really exciting. So now what are we getting? Homes, for sale product, homes in a neighborhood that is 56% affordable. In other words, well over half of the homes are already affordable. Now we're adding new market rate townhomes, which are selling and doing well, workforce housing, and retail. That sounds like a dream, and it's happening. So very excited about it. It is, everyone only wants to talk to me about Harborplace, which of course is important to the entire city of Baltimore. But for me personally, to have a hand in redeveloping my own neighborhood is absolutely amazing, and is probably the most important deal I won't make a lot of money on it. But it is probably the most important deal that I'll ever do as a developer.
We got a little bit more. You hold tight. You're watching the Doni Glover Show.
The thing about it is that's so amazing is, and I think about this all the time, and this is why people say, why do you still live in West Baltimore? Because that project wouldn't happen if I didn't live there.
No, it would not. No one, first of all, there's this stereotype. I'm scared to go to North Avenue.
I want to tell you something interesting. I don't know, maybe, I can't remember what the time frame is, but in the last year, we had the governor of the state of Maryland and the CEO of Wells Fargo. The CEO of Wells Fargo standing on North Avenue. In my whole life, I would never have imagined that the CEO of Wells Fargo and the governor of Maryland would be standing together on North Avenue talking about the revitalization, the future of West Baltimore. And when you see Senator Hayes next time, and you see all those, you thank him.
I do.
Because there is a movement like I've never seen.
50 million to start.
Like I have never seen, to finally say, this doesn't have to be like this.
Yeah.
So let's do it. Let's make these investments.
Yes.
And I'm just, that's why I say, people are like, oh, Harbor's great.
Yeah.
But what will the harbor do for us if our neighborhoods still look like crap?
Yes.
It will do nothing.
Yes.
We need to do housing. We need to do housing. We need market rate housing. People want to live in new houses.
I was very fortunate and blessed to be able to purchase a house, and then in the meantime, walk into quite a bit of equity. Thank you so much, Calvin. You've been a blessing. I really, really have appreciated everything that you have done to, help me along on this journey, because I just believe that God orders our steps, and I'm just grateful that He brought you into our lives. That's it.
At Fulton Bank, we're personally invested in every community we serve. So sometimes we're big in small ways, like finding a way to get Crystal and Dan a mortgage before the baby arrived. Other times we're small in big ways, like local decision-making and financial coaching that helped Fernando open his own shop. Fulton Bank, a community bank that's big and small in all the right ways.
You've been watching the Doni Glover Show. We've been talking with the managing partner, co-founder of MCB, right here in Baltimore. My name's Doni Glover, and we'll see you next time.
Doni Glover Show, be more.